I'm a dumb bunny. What's happening, Boot Junkies? Mike Dog Audio here, back with another video on home studio setup for voiceover, and we're continuing with USB Mic Week, and we have a new USB microphone in the booth today. We have the Apogee Mic 96K. MIC. I'm assuming it's called the mic, which is weird that the microphone is called the mic. Hubris, but I guess that's what they want to call it. So, the mic 96K. This one is mine. I bought this one like, I don't know, last Prime Day, like 6 or 7 months ago. Is that how long Prime Day was? I guess last summer. And so I've been sitting on the idea of making a video about this for a long time, and I keep putting it off and doing it and putting it off and doing it. And then I figured now during USB Mic Week, it's a good time to do it. But when I went onto Apogee's website, I'm a dumb bunny. This microphone's been discontinued. Didn't know that. Should have kept up on my Apogee USB mic news, but I didn't. This mic has been discontinued. But it has been replaced by its next model, which is the Mic Plus. So this one was called the Mic 96K, and the new one is called the Mic Plus. Now, as I looked at the specifications of the Mic Plus, it's really similar to the Mic 96K with many of the fixes of the complaints I was going to tell you about for the Mic 96K. Sonically, I think they're going to sound fairly similar. But there's a bunch of stuff about this mic that I didn't really like, and I ended up putting it on the shelf quite often. I've recorded a little bit with it, but I put it on the shelf quite often because there are some foibles, some problems with this version that looks like they fixed in the next version. So let's talk about this microphone, and perhaps it will help inform you whether or not you want to try and find this. I think they can still get this on Amazon, but it's been discontinued, or if you think it would be the right mic for you on the next one. I wish I had the Mic Plus. I spent money on this one. It's like $220 for the replacement mic, and somebody wants to send it to me to test. I'd love to test it. I would absolutely love to test the Mic Plus, but I don't have the reason to spend the money on it because I've got this one. So let's talk about this. First, this is a condenser microphone, not a dynamic microphone. This is a condenser microphone in the cardioid style, and it is USB, which means no interface is required. This microphone is rather pricey for its for a USB microphone. It's up in the Yeti Pro world. I think this is $229, $199, $229, depending on which day on Amazon it is. And so it is definitely on the pricier side of the USB mic spectrum. There are some more that I've seen $500 USB microphones, but this is definitely on the pricier side. So there's that. So one of the marketing points of this microphone, and it's right there in the title of it, the Mic 96K, is this microphone actually is high resolution. So you compare that to the Audio-Technica ATR 2100 that we just did. That's a 16-bit, 44.1 kilohertz sample rate and bit depth. This one is a 24-bit bit depth and can record up to 96 kilohertz. So what do those two numbers mean very quickly? So the 96 kilohertz is how many samples per second the microphone takes when it's recording digitally. Normally it's 44,100 samples per second. This one will go up to 96,000 samples per second. So it's considered very high resolution. And then the 24 versus 16-bit bit depth is the for each individual sample, how precise is that value in the sample. So if it's 16-bit, you can have, I usually try and explain it in shades of gray, right? If there's black and white, there's two colors, and then there's 4-bit color, which is like 4 shades of gray, light gray, middle gray, dark gray, white. And so with 16-bit, you can have a total of 64,000 different shades of gray. Well, with 24-bit, you can have a few million shades of gray. I forgot what 24, 2 to the 24th. You can have a lot of different shades of gray. You can have a very precise shade of gray. And you can do, and it will do that 96,000 times per second. So it's like the 4K cameras instead of an HD camera or it's VGA camera. So it can be very, very precise. For the most part, that's overkill. Recording at 24-bit and 96K for voice work. A lot of times you're going to sample it down to either 48 kilohertz or 44,100 kilohertz. But to know that it can go to 96, it speaks to the precision of the audio that this can capture. And I will say, for some producers, there may be some effects that you're going for where having 96 kilohertz would be beneficial. If you were going to play the sound at half speed, whatever you record, if you were going to play it at half speed, you could slow your sample, you could double the time without loss of resolution, because you'd still be at 48 kilohertz if you played at half speed. So it won't be jaggedy and it won't be choppy as you slow it down. So that's why you could, that's just one example, but there may be effects that you want to have really incredibly precise reverb or some effect that you want to apply to it where the additional resolution would help. But this microphone can do 24-bit bit depth at 96,000 samples per second, 96 kilohertz. I'm going to move this microphone a little bit off to the side. I hope you don't mind. The reason I'm doing that is I have found that this microphone is very plosive-y. The basket, the head basket on there, I can see the camera through the head basket. So it's really easy to send plosives into it. You definitely need a pop filter with this microphone. And if size is a constraint, the Wintech pop guard that you've seen me use in other videos, it fits right over top. I'm not going to keep it on during the video so I can point to the different parts of it, but you definitely do need to have a pop filter in front of this microphone. And something like the Wintech pop guard is a good option because it's small. It would travel well, which I think is, part of what makes this mic attractive is that it travels well. So I'm going to pull this off. But in exchange for that, I hope you don't mind, I'm going to keep this thing a little bit off axis. Shouldn't change the sound that much, but I'm using the technique of pointing the mic at my mouth and not my mouth at the mic. So instead of keeping it here without a pop filter, because I know it's going to be plosive city, I'm going to move it just a little bit off. So it's only about 2 inches off axis. Shouldn't be a big deal. Why shouldn't it be a big deal? Because this is a cardioid pattern microphone, and it's actually a really wide cardioid. So if you look at the pattern graph of this mic, it actually shows that it is a cardioid pattern. Cardioid, if you've never watched any of my videos before, cardioid pattern means that the front of the microphone is sensitive. The talking side is sensitive, but as you move the microphone towards the back, it becomes far less sensitive. And there's a point at which on the side that it transitions from being not so quiet, not so sensitive to very sensitive, and it's usually about 90 degrees on the side of the microphone, like I am now. This one seems to be a little bit wider than 90 degrees. Some cardioids are narrower, some cardioids are wider. I would say that the pattern on this particular microphone seems to be in the cardioid to wide cardioid, although the tone changes if you're right off to the side of the microphone like that. Okay. The reason I originally chose this microphone, one, there are two reasons why I originally chose to spend my money on this microphone. First is its size. It is a really nice size for a microphone, especially one that I thought would be my travel mic. If you've ever watched any of my videos, you know that I've really gone through the gamut of I need to record auditions and pickups and stuff on the road. Could I find a microphone that I had comfort with how good I was going to sound, but didn't take up a huge amount? I didn't have to carry a whole kit with me. And the 96K really seemed like a good option. So its size is there. The second reason is Apogee is a brand that has earned my trust. I've been an Apogee customer before. I own an Apogee Duet interface. And it's one I used for a long time. I was really a great big fan of the Apogee Duet interface worked great with my Macintosh, and I used it for a long time. The reason I would still be using it to this day, the reason I don't is because of the way I have the booth set up. I needed one more set of outputs that the Duet did not provide. So I couldn't do all the headphones and all the studio stuff that I needed to do. So I switched to the Audient ID22, which I love, but I believe and respect the Apogee company. I have no complaints. I'd still be using that Duet today if it had more outputs. Just the one, that design, it didn't have it. So that said, I like Apogee and I like the size. I trust that Apogee is going to make high quality equipment. And if you listen to this microphone, I think that I sound, as far as USB microphones go, I'm happy with it. This one does have a slightly higher noise floor than I wish, and I think it's because it only has 40 dB of gain. The noise floor is a little higher than I would like it to be, but that does look like it's been rectified a little bit in the next microphone. The preamp's a bit more powerful, so you don't have to turn the preamp quite up as loud, and so you have more gain, which hopefully makes the noise floor a little bit lower. Doesn't guarantee it, but you would hope so. So, we're going to look through the qualities of the microphone. We'll still go over the buttons and stuff on this microphone because a lot of it carries over to the new one. And I'll tell you what was wrong with this one and why I think it's going to be better on the next version, on the version that you get now, even though I haven't seen it before. Specification-wise, they're very similar. It looks to be the same pattern. The preamplifiers seem to be a little bit better on the new version than on this version. But on this microphone, let's talk about the interface. The first thing is this is a USB microphone. And on the bottom of the microphone, there is a USB jack. Now, this is one of my very first complaints about this particular microphone is it comes with a 1 meter cable. 3 feet. Not long. Not long. So your USB port better be close to this microphone because this is not a USB cable. It's a proprietary cable. It's USB-A on one end and USB whatever the heck this is on this end. It seems to be an Apogee-specific connector. So if you break this cable, you better hope Apogee's still selling it because you're not going to be able to get this thing anywhere else. It's a specific cable. On the Mic Plus, the new version, it looks like they've switched to, I can't tell, by the picture it looks to be a USB micro. Could be a USB-C, but it looks like a USB micro on the bottom. So you can go grab any cable, the same one that charges your phone, assuming that you have a phone that charges over a micro USB and not a Lightning. But you can get that cable anywhere rather than being reliant on this too short proprietary cable. That is a better solution. The next, so that's item number one. Item number two, on most USB headphones, there is a headphone jack. And you'll notice that this one, my headphones, are not plugged in to the headphone jack. So this really only works as an input. Many USBs mics work as a sound card. If you play sound on your computer, it will go back through the headphone jack. They act as a sound card. This one acts as a microphone input over USB. There's no headphone jack on it, which means when I'm recording, it goes down gets down into the computer, over to my DAW, does whatever it does, and then sends it back. And I have never been able to get it to be zero latency. In my headphones right now, there's probably a quarter second of latency. It's really annoying. So as I'm talking, you can hear that there is some latency in this microphone. There's a delay. It's crazy. I find it very frustrating. And so I've messed with the buffer settings and all that stuff, but it's a USB microphone. It's not meant to be knowing about buffer settings and latency and all that stuff. USB is plug it in and it works. So by this design, by not having the headphone jack and not having zero latency in the microphone, I've never not had latency with this microphone, which makes it really hard to do voice acting when there's latency, because when you hear an echo in your head, it tends to make you talk slower, it sounds funny, and you're worried about how the technical aspect of it, and you don't concentrate on your performance. So that's frustrating. Looks like they took that note, and on the next version, there is a there is a headphone jack that you can plug into, and there is zero latency built into the microphone, because that is one of my chief complaints with this microphone, is that there is significant latency. So you really have to work without headphones, which I want to hear myself. I want to hear what the mic's doing, so I know if I'm clipping. If you can't use your headphones, you have to rely on this little light here. So there's an LED on the front of this microphone that lights up when it hears signal based on how much gain. So there's a gain knob here that adjusts how loud the microphone prints onto disc. And so there is a light that you sort of have to keep your eye on. It's a dim green when there's no signal. It's a bright green when there's a safe signal. It turns to an amber yellow color if you're starting to get too loud and you're at risk of clipping. And then it turns red when you've clipped. And if you're just, 2 or 3 inches off the microphone, right now I am this far off the microphone, I can see the LED and I can see that I'm close and I can see it interacting. If I'm working the mic, if I'm right up onto it trying to leverage some proximity effect for this microphone, then I really can't see that light down there, and I can't see that every once in a while it flickers yellow, which says I'm at risk of clipping. So it's not there. It looks like on the next version it's at least 3 LEDs, but it's still on the front of the mic. So you're designed to be, they're expecting you to be an inch or 2 off the mic so you can see the LED at the same time. Otherwise, I'd want the LED up here or something, so it can be in my view even when I'm working the microphone. So what else is there to say? The last thing, which I think is a clever feature, is this one. You notice that the mounting point on the back is different than a lot of the other microphones. Instead of having a microphone sized or mic stand adapter or threaded part, it actually is a 1/4 inch 20, so it would go onto a tripod. And actually, they give you a little tripod. Like, this is the joke of a mic stand that it comes with. So you can acoustically couple it to your desk if you want to, but it is a ball head, and it actually works as a nice little camera tripod. They also do give you another ball head that has a microphone thread adapter on it, so you can actually just loosen this, and it will go. Loosen it, and it will go everywhere. Just turns into a regular ball head. So you can put it on a regular mic stand. But because it's a 1/4 inch 20, it also means that if you travel, you can travel with something like a GorillaPod or a knockoff like this one is. But you can put the microphone right on here, and you can also, so you only have to bring one thing. So if you got to record voiceover, or if you want to take pictures, you can do that with the 1/4 inch 20. I actually think that's pretty handy. That's pretty cool. The last thing is the sound. So you've heard this all along. I do think that this is one of the smoother sounding microphones, the USB microphones that I've tested so far. I think it's the least USB sounding of the microphones. So we've tested ones that sound a little thin. We've sounded ones that sound a little, little brash, a little high on the, a little harsh on the high end. I think this one is, of the ones I've tested, this is the smoothest one, I think. If a bit forward in the mid-range, a bit forward. I've heard this microphone described as nasal. I think that's pushing it to call it nasal, but I have heard this microphone described as nasal for voices. I don't know if I'd call it nasal. You be the judge. You tell me if you like the way it sounds. But I do believe that this would be an extremely similar sound to what you would hear on the Mic Plus, the new version. I could be wrong, but it looks like specification-wise, as far as the microphone goes, that it's still the same. Does that help? I know it was sort of a quick overview. Oh, 17 minutes. I guess it wasn't that quick of an overview. 17, give or take. But I think with the improvements that I see being made in the Mic Plus, I think if you have the money and you're looking for a microphone that could travel, that was low profile, didn't take up a bunch of space. Let's just 1 second. Hold on. I just want to give you a size comparison of what this thing looks like. Mic 96K, Blue Yeti. So a Yeti is a big old mic, but look at the size difference. Huge size difference. This is much going to be much more unobtrusive. Going to be much more unobtrusive on your desk, in your backpack, on the go, anything like that. Sounds good. The actual user interface on this version, the 96K, I'm not a fan of, but it does look like on the Mic Plus, the new version, it looks like they've addressed a lot of those issues. So hopefully I'll be able to get my hands on a Mic Plus at some point in the near future. I don't know, but if I do, I'll certainly test it and I'll be able to put it up against this one. But in the meantime, I hope that helps. Yeah, that's all I got for today. So go find yourself a microphone, maybe a USB microphone. Maybe you might be able to get a discount on this one, when it goes discontinued. You say, I can deal with that. I'll just record it. I'll record it without headphones, so I don't worry about that latency. Maybe that's exactly what you want to do. But get yourself a microphone. Start to practice behind it. Just get out there, record something amazing. All right? We'll talk to you next time. Thanks so much.